Tulip bulbs, money laundering, and Warren Buffett. Here is a critic's critique of Bitcoin. We're going to take it down bullet by bullet. All right, this person says, cryptocurrency is the modern equivalent of a tulip bulb. All right, remember, tulips do not have any monetary properties. They are not durable, divisible, portable, scarce, fungible, authenticatable. You can go look at the Bitcoin First Revisited report by Fidelity. Just type Bitcoin First Revisited. And Fidelity has a nice chart showing all the attributes of a good money. And they compare Bitcoin, US dollars, and gold. They do not add tulip bulbs because it'd be ridiculous, because tulip bulbs do not meet any of the criteria of a good money. So anytime somebody brings up the Dutch tulip mania, it means they don't understand that money has value because of the credibility of its monetary properties. Tulips have no monetary properties. They have, or tulip bulbs, and they never did. The Dutch tulip mania, which was primarily speculative on futures and options and that sort of stuff. It wasn't even the price of tulip bulbs itself. It was people speculating on the future price of tulip bulbs. But anyway, people act like every bubble's a tulip mania. And it's not. Bitcoin is not a bubble. It is certainly not a tulip. And you can go watch my video on my website called Bitcoin is Not a Bubble. Just search my YouTube channel for the word bubble, and it's about a 16-minute video that I did back at the Freedom Fest in Las Vegas in 2024. I was debating John Mackey, who is the founder of Whole Foods, on whether or not Bitcoin was a bubble, and I have all the details for why Bitcoin is not a bubble. Okay, so this guy continues, it has no value outside of what someone wants to pay for it. That is the true of literally everything on the planet. There is nothing in the world that has value other than what somebody will pay for it. There's no such thing as intrinsic value, because a diamond to somebody, dying of thirst in the desert is worthless. Nothing has intrinsic value. It has to do with what someone will pay for it. And Bitcoin's value is derived by the value of its monetary properties, the credibility of its monetary properties, and how good Bitcoin serves as money. And this person says its main utility is for money laundering and the proceeds of crime. Okay, that's ridiculous. Even Chainalysis, the organization that is the official government sort of agency of record for identifying crime and fraud in cryptocurrency, they say less than 1/4% of cryptocurrency transactions are people using Bitcoin for some nefarious purpose. Let me say that again. Less than 1/4% of cryptocurrency transactions are people using Bitcoin for some sort of bad purpose. Meanwhile, between 2% and 5% of US dollars are used for some sort of nefarious purpose. So you're dealing with less than 1/1/4% for Bitcoin, as compared to between 2 and 5% for the US dollar. But of course, this guy doesn't do any research. He just says it's used for money laundering and the proceeds of crime. Whatever. Do some research, my friend. All right. He says currency generates no revenue, product, service, profits, or dividends. That's the point. You do not want your money generating profits. Otherwise, your money is going up in value based on an earnings call. You don't want anyone in charge of your money. You don't want your money to have a product or a service or dividends or profits, because it means that the value of the currency is going to be all over the place based on the execution of a very small number of people. That is not what you ever want with a currency. What you want with a currency is something durable, divisible, portable, fungible, authenticatable, and scarce. That's what you want. You want the core fundamental properties of money, and that is what you value in a currency. A currency derives its value from the credibility of its monetary properties. Those are very important words to remember. The credibility of its monetary properties. Three major words in there. The credibility of its monetary properties. That is where money gets its value. And the main attributes of a good money are divisible, durable, portable, fungible, authenticatable, and most importantly, scarce. If a money has the other attributes, then it derives its value from being scarce. But first it has to be divisible, durable, portable, fungible, authenticatable, and then it derives its value from being scarce. And on all of those attributes, Bitcoin is superior to anything else in the entire universe. All right. This guy says investment in any currency is simply a bet that the currency will rise against the currency of your own nation. Yeah, that is what investing in any currency is. The reason you own a currency is because you think it's going to be superior to another currency. So this guy says, literally, he gets it. He seems like he gets it, but then he somehow doesn't get it. He says, investment in any currency is simply a bet that the currency will rise against the currency of your own nation. Yes, that's why you want Bitcoin, because it will rise in value as compared to the currency of any nation. So as compared to anything else you could possibly use as money, Bitcoin will become much more valuable. That's the point. But again, this person is critical, and all these people, it's like all bots and stuff. Anyway, he said, smart investors don't gamble, they invest. That's right, which is why you study Bitcoin and you understand that it derives its value from the credibility of its monetary properties, that it has superior monetary properties to anything else that exists in the world, and therefore will go up in value as compared to anything else in the world until it is fully monetized, meaning everyone in the world uses it as money, right? Right now, something like 5% of the world owns any Bitcoin, and most of that Bitcoin is a very small percentage that is owned by whoever it is. So at some point in the future, it will be a much, much larger percentage. Then he goes on to say, one second here. Sorry, I'm navigating some especially complex traffic here. Give me one second. Okay, then he goes on to say, eventually gambling on a bubble supported by gambling fails. Well, I would agree, but again, I did an entire video on why Bitcoin's not a bubble and why investing in Bitcoin is not gambling, because you are investing on the fundamentals of a currency, and the fundamentals of a currency are known. It is the credibility of its monetary properties, which are divisible, durable, portable, fungible, authenticatable, and scarce. So if you're investing on those attributes, then you're investing similar to how good of an electric car does Tesla make? I'm driving one, right? I mean, Tesla makes an incredible electric car, and if you understand electric cars, it makes sense to invest based on the merits of the probability that Tesla will succeed in making electric cars. That's what you're investing on with Bitcoin, the merits of its monetary properties beating out all other currencies. And last up, this guy says, just ask Warren Buffett about crypto. Yes. Anytime you want to know about the very latest technology, ask somebody who's 96 years old and has purposely avoided new technologies during their entire investing career. Warren Buffett has said he avoids new technologies. He avoids internet stocks. He avoids he just doesn't do new tech stuff. So this person says, hey, if you want to know about Bitcoin, you should ask Warren Buffett. Why would you ask Warren Buffett about Bitcoin? He specifically says he avoids new technologies, and he doesn't like investing in stuff that involves the internet or that involves, new technologies and stuff like that, which he has avoided for decades, which is why, Berkshire Hathaway, his company, avoided pretty much all of the Magnificent Seven stocks until they were much later in adoption, because he just avoids stuff like that. So once again, here's another critic. How much time has he researched Bitcoin? Zero. How much time has he spent on my Facebook page or my YouTube channel Googling any of the words he used? See, he could get on my YouTube channel and he could keyword search the word tulip or the word bubble, or he could use the word utility, or he could use the word crime, or the word dividends, or the word investment, or the word, literally any of the big words, gambling. He could use Warren Buffett. He could use any of the big words in his comment on my YouTube channel, and I've got videos that explain exactly what it is that makes Bitcoin valuable and why all of his critiques are not accurate. But of course, he doesn't have any time to do that. He just has time to comment on my Facebook page, but not any time whatsoever to ask any of those questions. He doesn't even have to spend his time on my YouTube channel. He can plug literally his critique into Grok or ChatGPT or any other AI engine and say, hey, please critique my opinion of Bitcoin. And any AI engine will tell him all the reasons he's wrong. But once again, he doesn't have time to copy and paste his comment into an AI engine. He just has time to put comments on my Facebook page, which is fine. But why would you not do the research? Like, if you have a critique about something, why would you not stick it in AI? Why would you not stick it in Google? Why would you not stick it on my YouTube page and find out that there's a good answer for every one of those things? It's just not that hard. So that's a critique. That's all I had time for today. Hopefully I'll have time later for some more videos, but I only had time for a short one, and this was the one at the top of my stack. So enjoy and have a great day.